On today's DNVR Broncos show, we're talking about the big injury that hit the Broncos. How much does it impact them, and who will fill in? Plus, we're diving into the offense. Is there a simple fix to the Broncos offense that is averaging 11 points per game right now? And Todd's giving us the inside scoop, diving into the Broncos film to tell us what went wrong and what can go right moving forward. And it all starts now. A big-time blow to the Broncos offensive line. A big-time injury blow. Is that better?
Yeah, I mean, it's all true.
And we're going to break it down on the DNVR Broncos podcast, where I've got Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis rocking and rolling with yours truly, Zach Stevens. We've got you here behind the camera, and we are, of course, live from the DNVR bar inside the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. If you need a car, check them out. And, of course, we're presented by our friends over at Bet365. Use that code DNVR365. Todd, how you doing?
Feeling great, man. It's Tuesday. Now we kind of like rinse our brain of the last two games.
Yep.
You know, after the inside scoop, of course.
Yeah.
But we kind of get on to the next week and start focusing on the Bucs and see how we can get it done.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, a big term that's used around the NFL is the 24-hour rule.
Yeah.
If you win, you celebrate it for 24 hours. You can enjoy it for 24 hours. If you lose, then you sulk in it. You let it hurt you for 24 hours. Then after that, you move on to the next game. Is that you've always heard the 24-hour rule? Because I heard Jim Harbaugh after the Chargers won this week. He gave a speech to his team, and he said, let's enjoy this for the next 6 hours. Does it depend on the coach?
I think it depends on how well you play. I think the better you play, the less you enjoy it.
Wow.
You know, less time you enjoy it for, and then the worse you play, the longer you think about it.
So
if you
messed
play
up.
bad, it's probably going to spill over all the way up until like Wednesday morning, like right before practice. I think that's when you finally get rid of it. But if you play good, then you got a couple hours, enjoy it, and then try to, you know, do something better next week.
Now, so what about, is it different for the offense and the defense? Because obviously the team overall lost the game.
Yeah.
The defense, I mean, come on. 13 points? You feel pretty good about that. Is the defense feeling good about themselves right now? And the offense is going to feel bad about themselves all the way until, like, you know, Friday morning because of how bad it's been?
Hopefully it doesn't linger that long. And I think the defense is feeling pretty good. I think they feel like they left some plays out there, though. Mm-hmm. I think that they played well, but remember, we're playing Justin Fields and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, 13 points is great, but it wasn't Patrick Mahomes right. and the Chiefs. And I think that if you watch the tape, they easily could have held them to 3 to 6 points if they just had like hit a couple plays or were smart on a couple of third downs, didn't make mental errors. Overall, they played good. I don't want to take anything away from them, but I really feel like they could have had like a, you know, almost like a shutout game.
I feel like I know where the inside scoop might be going later today. You're going to have to stay tuned to that. It's my favorite segment of the week, and it's even better this year because Todd knows the Broncos, maybe even better than the Broncos know the Broncos. But before we get into that, Todd, yesterday we find out that Mike McGlinchey on the third to last play of the game suffered a significant, is how Mike Garafolo characterized this injury, a significant MCL sprain. He's going to be out roughly a month. Your first thoughts when you hear that?
I think that sucks for the team as a whole. I think he is a starter for us and has been a starter in this league for a long time. I think that he was having a much better start to this season as opposed to last season. And when you are kind of having a bounce back year, you really don't want to stop when you get into that groove. I feel like he was playing pretty well. He did good for the most part against TJ Watt last week. I know he gave up 1 sack, but really for the majority of the game, I think he played pretty well. And I felt like he was really hitting his stride. So it sucks for the timing of it because now you talk about maybe 4 weeks he's going to be out. And, you know, then you got to get back in shape and you got to get back right. So that'll probably take 2 games. So maybe we're going to see like a McGlinchey that we're used to seeing, peak McGlinchey, for 6 weeks from now, that's tough.
I mean, Todd, I'm right along with you. When I hear significant MCL sprain, I would have thought a much longer timeline than just a month. I probably would have thought 2 months, but let's say it is even a month. It's a good point that it's going to take 2 more weeks for him to get back to where he was. So this is major. I mean, it's a significant sprain, and this is a significant injury. And tell me if I'm wrong here, but the way that I view players on offense, I feel like skill position players on offense might get a little too much credit from fans, and fans might elevate them a little too much. Not just on the Broncos, but everyone thinks their wide receivers are a little better than they are, and their running backs are better than they are compared nationally, and it happens with Broncos as well. But then offensive linemen, it's the opposite. I feel like people, their own fans, deflate offensive linemen's value, worth, but then also how good they are. You can have an average offensive line, and people think it's like a really bad offensive line. And I heard this saying, I think someone on PFF said it, if you don't have a top 5 offensive line, then your fan base thinks it's a bottom 5 offensive line. And so I feel like this applies to Mike McGlinchey perfectly, because Mike McGlinchey has, I feel like his year in Denver, he's been dogged left and right by fans and media. And certainly there's some truth to that. He hasn't been perfect by any means, but he's a good right tackle.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that a good right tackle is not going to give up some plays and not be perfect, because he's not the number 1 right tackle in the NFL. He's not Penny Sewell, but he's also not paid like Penny Sewell with the Lions of just like an absolute dominant right tackle. He's probably borderline top 10 right tackle in the NFL. People kind of view him as like a bottom 10 guy because you see him struggle in pass protection at times, but he's great against the run, maybe average against the pass, and that kind of balances out to top 10, I think.
I agree. I think he's a good player. And O-line is a tough position. I think it's similar to DB in the regards that you get one play.
Yeah.
Like as a DV, you give up a touchdown, and all of a sudden you had a bad game, you're not a good DB. You could have been locked down the other 65 plays of the game, but that one touchdown, now everybody thinks you're trash. I think it's very similar to O-line. Like, even though he's going up against TJ Watt, a lot of people may say he had a bad game last week, when in reality, I don't think he had a bad game. He gave a 1 sack against the most dominant defensive player in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
So it's a tough position to be in. You don't really have room for error, in the eyes of the fans.
I would have signed up for 1 TJ Watt sack in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And I would have given it to him, given him the 1 sack, but if I knew it was only 1, I would have done that in a heartbeat, and that is what the Broncos did. Now, you had Highsmith get in the backfield right away as the game started. It wasn't perfect from the offensive line in terms of pass protection by any means, but holding TJ Watt to 1 sack. In fact, over at Bet365, TJ Watt's sack total going into the game was 1.5.
See?
So Bet365 thought he was going to get potentially 2 sacks there. So I think that this is a massive injury because he is a good player on your offensive line. But I'm going to go even one step further. Going into this season, Quinn Bailey was your backup right tackle. Now you don't have Quinn Bailey.
Yeah.
So now technically you're on your 3rd string right tackle. Now the good news is, I guess, I don't have touch wood for this, but Quinn Bailey got hurt at the beginning of training camp. So these other guys had a lot of opportunities at right tackle. So I guess that's a good thing. It's not like Quinn Bailey got hurt last week and now you're playing a guy that really has no experience with this first team offensive line or really at right tackle at all. But that's the reality. The Broncos are going to be playing with the 3rd string right tackle on a struggling offense already. And that jump from 15 to 10 top right tackle in the NFL to now 3rd string, oh boy, this is something where even if you're not facing a TJ Watt or a Max Crosby or a dominant pass rusher, Sean Payton has to be aware of this every single play. Because let's just say he leaves a right tackle, and we'll talk about who that's going to be in a second. Let's say you leave that right tackle on an island, and he gets beat, and Bo Nix gets sacked. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone.
No, I don't think it will be. And I think teams are just going to line up their best player on the right side and have him rush from there. I think even TJ Watt, he picked to go against McGlinchey. He thought that McGlinchey was the fish between him and Bowles. Like, the most dominant guy gets to pick what side of the line he wants to rush off of. So he definitely felt like that side was where the fish was. And now you bring in a guy who hasn't played a lot of snaps in the NFL. He's tall, he's has a lot of good arm length, good size, but it's a learning curve to this game. So I think he'll be the fish until he proves otherwise.
And when you talk about that fish, are you talking about the big Polish?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that his nickname? Alex Palczewski?
Yeah.
I like that. We got to find out his roots because that seems pretty good. But you talk about a guy that does have good physical talent.
Yeah.
But you know how many snaps he's played in the NFL?
Probably 0.
2 last week. He filled in for the final 2 snaps of the game. He was on IR all of last season, and I got to give credit to where credit's due. He had a great training camp last year. He had a great preseason. He was an undrafted guy last year.
Yep.
He flashed so much that the Broncos said, we're not going to cut you and try to get you to our practice squad. We're just going to put you on IR for this entire season because he had a little injury. He was fine, but it was one of those like redshirt years. Like, we really like what we see. We don't want to lose you. This year, he came back and struggled a lot more than he did last year. So kind of took that step backward where if he didn't take that step backward, the Broncos might have said, like, you're competing for a starting job on this offensive line next year. Now, I don't think we were in that position after what we saw in training camp from him. He did struggle, but he's a guy, when Sean Payton talks about him and when Joe Lombardi talks about him, it might be the only player that they talk about this way. They openly admit, like, yeah, he's not really good in practice, but when it gets to the games, it doesn't look good, but he gets the job done. Like, maybe it's his fundamentals and technique aren't good, and maybe he's getting beat, but not. He's able to hold on just enough where he gets the job done. You ask him to block that guy, close your eyes, don't look at how it's going, but at the end, he's going to block him.
That doesn't make me feel good at all. At all. That does not feel like a good, I don't even know what to call that, description of a player. I don't know. That makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Because that's the guy that, like, you're closing your eyes and he accidentally gives up a sack. Like, that's what makes me, that's what it makes me think of when you describe a player like that.
And I mean, that's totally fair. And that's maybe why that's the only player I've heard Sean Payton and Joe Lombardi describe that way, is because typically it's not a good thing. But the Broncos have 3 options here to replace Mike McGlinchey. It's Matt Peart, most experienced guy. He's been a starter in the NFL for a long time, but he's a left tackle. And there are some guys that can swing to both sides, but he's typically a guy that has only played left tackle. On the opposite end, you have Palczewski, who's really only played right tackle. So he is the natural replacement because he was the one that replaced Mike McGlinchey in the final 2 plays last week. That's why I do think it's going to be him. And then you have Frank Crum. And Frank Crum is the ultimate developmental player. I would be shocked if he's the one stepping up in here because he had a very rough preseason and training camp, but the Broncos just kind of like Palczewski, really like his tools and think he can develop into someone. And they thought that he would have been poached by another team if they would have let him go. So I do think it's going to be Palczewski. But Todd, I want to ask you how the Broncos can help a really young, inexperienced, kind of third-string right tackle over the course of a month. And I want to get into that conversation after I give a shout-out to our friends over at Toyota, where you guys know Toyota has the car for you. Whether you're looking for a little sports car, they've got the Supra, or they even have the big-time trucks, the Tundra. And I got to tell you, the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck, it packs a punch. It can tow anything you need, and it also gets better gas mileage because of that hybrid part of it, and it is a sweet-looking truck. And my favorite, man, the new Toyota Land Cruisers, they just dropped them this spring. That is a good-looking car. And, of course, they've got the classics, the RAV4, the 4Runner, so many different cars, including so many different all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive cars. And they have over 10 hybrid vehicles that you can choose from. So if you're looking for a car, make sure to check out our Front Range Toyota store location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
And shout out to our friends over at Empire today. They took care of us here and took care of our floors. You guys know I do a little bit of real estate development, and if you ever have redone a home or renovated it, I think the floors are one of the things that scream like brand new, nice, clean, and crisp. And you should definitely check out Empire today for all your flooring needs. Empire Today is the best place to get new floors, and their philosophy is to help you find what you need and not overwhelm you with thousands of choices and substitutes. They have great amount of floors to choose from, but they want to narrow it down to what you like and what you need. So they definitely want to take care of you, and they have a virtual floor designer. It's a great way to see how new floors will look in any space. It's easy, just snap a picture and instantly see how new floors will look in your room. I think that's awesome because you don't have to go through all the guesswork of if this tile will look right, if this flooring is going to go with my new cabinets or the paint color. You can definitely see it in your space before you get it. And right now, all listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use promo code DNVR. Remember, restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up to get deals. All right, Todd. So how difficult is it for Sean Payton to replace Mike McGlinchey with Alex Palczewski? How much more does he need to, how much help does he need to give him, and how much does this impact game planning?
I think he has to give him a good amount of help. I think if you want him to succeed as a young player, you got to be able to let him kind of, I guess you could say, stay in his bag. Like what he does best, we want him to do, and whatever he needs help, we have to be able to help and assist him, especially with, a young quarterback. We know that it's not his blind side, so he can see rushers coming off the right edge, but nevertheless, you don't want him to feel like he's under pressure all day and then can't get the ball off. We want to help him so that Bo can be his best, and we need everybody on the line to step up and really hold their blocks to be successful.
Yeah, 100%. And good thing is this coming week, your former teammate, Shaq Barrett, has retired because, man, he's been a monster out there for Tampa Bay, and Broncos don't have to worry about him. Tampa Bay's defense, though, is a very good defense. Now, we'll see. Sean's just going to have to give, especially this game. Like, if Palczewski plays 3 really good games and then you feel comfortable not giving him as much help, and then he goes out and gets beat on that 4th game, okay, that's not really on the coaching staff. Like, maybe at some point in the game you do give him more help then. But if Palczewski gets beat and beat and the right side of your line is just destroyed in the very first game, that will be on the coaching staff for not giving him enough help. So the Broncos play the Bucs this week.
Yep. Then
they go to New York and play the Jets, which have a very good defense. Shout out for Hassan Reddick for not showing up to the New York Jets, because that would have been a big-time issue going up against him. Then they have the Raiders at home, and this is one where you talk about dominant pass rushers get to choose which side they play on.
Yeah.
If I'm Max Crosby, I'm lining up against Palczewski every single snap.
Game. Yeah, it's tough. And I think what makes it tough is that you are playing some dominant edge rush guys, but there are a couple, I think the Jets and the Raiders have good interior rushes too. And now that puts everybody kind of like on an island. Like if now we have to think about helping Palczewski, like I think it's going to put Waltenberg on the island, and I don't think he did very well on the island. So it doesn't just affect the edge, it affects the entire line because it changes our blocking schemes and our techniques.
That's a really good point. And then to round out this month, if he really just does miss a month, the Chargers are coming to town. They got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. We'll see if those guys are both healthy by then. But if so, that is a big-time problem.
Yep.
And then week 5 after that, you go to the Saints. So on a short week, too. So if I'm guessing, probably going to miss all 5 of those games because that Saints game, which would be the 5th game he would miss, is on a Thursday night. So that's not even a full week back. So I think that this is one where we're going to be following very close because they're going to need Mike McGlinchey to come back as soon as possible. Okay, Todd, let's dive in to this conversation about how to fix the Broncos offense. And I think Sean Payton, after the game, actually admitted what needs to happen. So let's hear from Sean talking about how to fix what he's noticed and how this offense can be fixed. Let's play this clip from Sean you hear.
Yeah, it's just when you run a play and it has success and you're looking at the pieces, when you run a play and it doesn't have success, are we putting in our guys in the best position? We're rotating a lot of different personnel groups in and out. I don't know if that's helping us, quite honestly. And we just need to evaluate that closely, evaluate what we're doing relative to our personnel.
honesty and incredible insight from Sean Payton on what's not working. And I think he admitted a massive problem and a really simple solution right there. A key of Sean Payton's offense throughout the 15 years he was in New Orleans and what he's trying to do here, but wasn't able to do it last year with Russell Wilson, and maybe isn't able to do it right now with Bo Nix in this offense, is it's a very complex offense. We've heard his play calls where they go on for like 5 to 7 seconds, and a normal human being, at least me, maybe a below average intelligence human being, is like, are you kidding me? I can't rattle that off. And then quarterbacks do it 70 times in a game. But another thing along with that is he loves to send in so many personnel packages, and just like almost every single play, a wide receiver's coming off the field, 2 tight ends are going on the field, and just keeps that rotation going, maybe more than any coach in the NFL. And so that's what he's talking about with we have so many personnel groupings. And then he admitted, Todd, maybe that's actually not helping us right now. And to me, that's saying Sean's just trying to do too much right now with a young quarterback and an inexperienced offense.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on. I think it's tough because if I look at the plays, yes, there is a lot of rotation at different positions, but the plays and the schemes aren't complex. So it's tough because you do want him to, like, you know what I'm saying, make it simpler for Bo. But as far as the scheme of what they're running and the different routes they're running, it is simple. But maybe just allowing, you know, certain guys to stay in longer and not so much rotation will make it easier on Bo. And I think that we have a lot of guys in different positions that haven't played a lot of football. I don't know if Dulcich dropping the ball was a product of him not getting a lot of playing time. Then you're in, you got to catch it now, and then you're back out. Like, you don't get in any rhythm.
Right.
You can't, you know, find your footing out there on the field. I'm not saying it's an excuse, but at the same time, like, whether it's him or Javonte or Jalil, like, these are all either young guys who haven't played a lot or guys coming back from injury who need to get in the rhythm. And I don't think that switching everybody out every play is best for them or Bo.
And you look at the Saints, when Sean was able to have success with this, he didn't just have Drew Brees. He pretty much had like the same offensive line for many years in a row. He had the same receivers. He had the same tight end. He had the same running backs. Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, these guys were staples in Sean Payton's offense. And so when you get into year 3 and 4 with pretty much the same group, and then of course you can plug and play players, but then you can do this. And it doesn't just impact Bo, because I think this is something that goes way beyond Bo. I think this is, I have to imagine, it's pretty tough on Bo for having so many different moving pieces when he's also in the NFL and playing his first 2 games and everything's faster. But on top of that, like you said, Greg Dulcich might have been thinking, okay, I got to get to 5 yards, then turn around. Oh my gosh, the ball's right there. When he was thinking too much, because he's only had, 20 plays a game right now instead of 45, 50 plays a game. And then he gets in his own head. And then the next time the pass comes around, he drops it as well. Now, like you said, it's no excuse. When the ball comes to you, and you're a wide receiver, you're a receiving tight end, you have to catch it. But I think this was a very self-aware moment from Sean after the game. And I think it's just too complex right now. I think the offense is too complex. And we saw this exact same thing happen last year at the beginning of the season. It was too complex for Russell Wilson. And Sean pretty much admitted that. They had Russ go to a wristband to help with this. And then they simplified the offense for Russ. And then the Broncos went on a 5-game win streak. And were the two correlated? I think the defensive turnovers helped more than anything else.
For sure.
But I do think simplifying the offense helps. So we've seen Sean is capable of this. And we know Sean thinks the world of Bo Nix in terms of his processing ability, in terms of his ability to pick things up quickly. And maybe Sean just put a little too much on Bo's plate and this offense's plate right away. And maybe this is something that he can turn back to midseason and say, okay, we're going to get it more complex now. But now I do think he needs to simplify it a lot, because it's not just Bo and the receivers, it's also the offensive line. And then it's just been like a perfect storm, an imperfect storm, I should say. When the offensive line plays well and there's a hole and we all see the hole right there, it's on the right side, Javonte cuts left. When Javonte might make the right read, there's 3 guys hitting him behind the line of scrimmage. So it's really impacting everything on this. And I just have to imagine that everyone's thinking a little too much right now and not able to get into a rhythm.
Yeah, they got to relax and just play ball. And I just don't think they're at that space right now. It sucks because, I think you're like you said, I think it's everybody, and then we're so close to it being successful. Like, as far as Bo, he's not running to the sideline, 3 or 4 times a game because he can't get the call out. Like, he's getting the call out, he's getting guys lined up, and he's just having a problem, like, executing it at, the finale of the play. And I think that's because he's thinking within it, but he's done so many steps to get to this point, and he's done them well that, like, now we just have to find a way, like, to simplify it all just to have him execute at the end of the play a little bit better.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of Bo, I want to hear from Bo and what he has to say about simplifying the offense, because 5 minutes after we asked Sean Payton about this and got this answer from him, Bo gave a little different answer to that, and I want to play that clip, but I first want to give a shout out to our friends over at Primo Hoagies. We're Primo Hoagies. It's called Primo Hoagies because it's the best hoagies out there. And when you think of a hoagie, you think of Philadelphia. And they actually fly their ingredients in from that state to make sure that it is the absolute best. And Primo Hoagies does it right. In fact, we love Primo Hoagies, but so do the awards. USA Today named them the best sandwich shop in back-to-back years in 2023 and 2024. You got to see what the best hoagie tastes like. And their bread is baked fresh daily, and it's on par with the Philadelphia bread because they ship the ingredients out from Philadelphia every single week and then bake it fresh here. They use the highest quality meats, cheeses in their ingredients to elevate your sandwich, and they are amazing. So if you want to check them out, you can order on their app or online, or you can just check out one of their stores and get a mouth-watering deal at Primo Hoagies right now. Grab their special combo, 1 Primo-sized hoagie, a 1-ounce bag of chips, and a 20-ounce drink, all for just $15.99. Don't miss out. Swing by Primo Hoagie Centennial today and treat yourself to the perfect lunch meal.
You should also treat yourself to some tickets to your favorite, sporting events, theater, music, comedy. Shout out to our friends over at Game Time. They'll definitely keep you in the game. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I use Game Time myself. I think it's the perfect app. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of me finding great tickets. I'm actually going to see Kevin Hart in a little bit, and I use Game Time to buy my tickets. So they were quick, they were fast, they were easy. I definitely check out Game Time if you're looking for any kind of sporting events, comedies, theater. They definitely have you covered. You can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code DNVR for $20 off. What time is it?
Game time.
Game time, baby. Let's go.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 over at checkout. All right, let's hear from Bo. He was asked right after the game, would it help if things are simplified for you in the offense? And here was his response.
I'll continue to get better and look in the mirror and see what I can do and evaluate myself. I think it's important to look at it from a bigger perspective. Football is just a game that we come out here and have fun playing. We make it a very, very big deal because sometimes it is. There's a lot of people out there, anticipating the game and the atmosphere and wins and losses. But, I think it's important to keep good perspective and, not making football your whole entire life. Because
talking about something else now, let's hear Bo talking about, can it be made simpler for you?
Get diagnosed and make quick decisions.
Yeah, I thought that was one of, our best plays. We got into empty and we were able to evaluate what they were doing. They were playing base to our personnel and, had guys up on the ball more than DB. So we felt like we could space it out and get something going. And, several of our key, conversions for first downs came out of empty.
So I'm not actually sure if we have the one, but he was asking things we made simpler. And what he said was, no, this is a complex game, and I think we can handle it. So kind of push back on that notion. I'm not shocked by that, though, because Todd, I don't think he would come up there and say, like, yeah, my head's spinning. I have no idea what's going on right now. But I think that's something that needs to start from the coaches. Like, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I don't really think a player, especially a young player, can go to a coach and be like, this is too confusing. Like, of course they can do that, but I don't think they'd feel comfortable saying this is too confusing. We need to make it a lot more simple.
No, and we're super competitive people. Like, we're not going to ask for it to be made simpler. Like, there's 32 teams in the NFL. There's 32 quarterbacks. They all are learning tough offenses, and they all have to get it done. So we automatically would feel like it's our job to get it done. If I was a linebacker, I need to take more time studying. I'm going to take more time studying. Now, can a coach see that even with my extra studying that I need a little bit of help? Yes. But I don't think that the player would ever say, like, I can't handle this, I need less.
Right, exactly. And that's why I just feel like that has to come from Sean Payton. So I'm not surprised that Bo said that. But let's see if this other clip is right, because Bo was asked, was there something about being an empty? When you guys win an empty, it seemed like that's when things started to click. And he kind of liked that idea. And so maybe that's something they can do more. Let's see if we have Bo's clip about talking about that.
Get diagnosed and make quick decisions.
Yeah, I thought that was one of, our best plays. We got into empty and we were able to evaluate what they were doing. They were playing base to our personnel and, had guys up on the ball more than DB. So we felt like we could space it out and get something going. And, several of our key, conversions for first downs came out of empty.
And Todd, I actually think there's something to this with connecting what he was talking about with what we were just talking about making things simpler, because when it's empty, you know what the formation is for the most part. There's going to be no one at tight end. There's going to be no one in the backfield with you. It's going to be very straightforward. The quarterback's going to be able to diagnose the defense probably a lot easier at the line of scrimmage as well. And then there's way fewer moving parts. Or if there's a little personnel change, it's a receiver for a receiver. It's not a receiver for a tight end, and then a running back is changing out with a receiver as well. It's simple. The formation's simple. The personnel is simple. Is there something to that?
Yeah, I think it's good for Bo to be able to see and diagnose very quickly, and it kind of spreads everything out. Not too many people in the box. Really, nobody's in the box besides, the D lineman rushing, and it allows him to kind of pick and choose his targets easier. The only problem with going in empty so much is that teams are going to have empty checks. So every time you get into empty, they're going to have a play that is designed for what you do out of empty. And right now, what we do out of empty is not complex. So if we extend our empty package, then I think it's a great, recipe for success for Bo. But if we don't, I think it's just teams are going to get into cover 4 or cover 3 and make it very easy on their guys, and we're just going to play everything top down and just tackle the catch. Or they were just going to sit on all the routes. Like, most of the empty throws are like 5 or 4 yards. Palczewski's in at right tackle, line our best pass rusher up. Everybody sit at 4 yards and don't move. Let's see if Bo can get the ball off.
And then essentially it just boils down to the exact same offense we've been seeing. I mean, Bo has had so little success throwing the ball downfield. According to Next Gen Stats, in the 2 games, he's had 5 completions on 24 attempts. That's where all 4 of his interceptions have came. Yeah. So Sean Payton has tried to take some of that off his plate by throwing so many screens, throwing so many quick passes, and essentially doing this full-time would just be that again.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's why we're not having success. I don't think corners are really even backpedaling much. They know most balls are going to be thrown in the 5 to 7 yard range. I'm not really biting on anything deep. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to pat my feet and try to make a play.
And then also, it's all about it when you run this system and you're throwing so many short passes, you're hoping that one of your playmakers is going to take the ball, make a move, then break a play. And we just haven't seen that yet. So, yeah, defenses are not going to respect it right now. And then that just makes it even more difficult because guy catches the ball 2 yards downfield, they're tackling him right at 2 yards downfield because they're not giving that 7 yard cushion. So it's a really good point. Now, I do think that Sean can break this out at random times, not just in the 2-minute warning at the end of the first half, end of the game. I think maybe at the beginning of the second quarter, you kind of break it out, catch a defense on their toes, and let's say it's working, you go no huddle to keep the defense on their toes so they can't substitute as well. So I would like to see it here and there, but for the reasons you mentioned, you can't do it all game. And then plus, you just literally are giving up on the running game. Yeah. And Sean has preached the 2 things you need for a rookie quarterback, or any quarterback, but specifically a rookie quarterback, is a good defense and a running game, and the Broncos just don't have a running game right now. Both of their starting running backs are averaging just over 2 yards per carry collectively. You kind of want to do the opposite of empty in order to help them out, especially with a new right tackle. And you want to put 2 tight ends in there. So it's this really weird give and take that Sean's going to have to balance this week in the next few weeks.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I will say that I did like the change of an empty with the QB draw. I think that was one of the best plays of the day, and it really caught the defense by surprise. Yep. So that's a little bit of running game that you could throw into the empty package. And I know we talked about, having 2 tight ends or 12 personnel or even 21 personnel for them to be able to run the football. I actually think they found more success in lighter packages. So like being able to transition from empty, staying in 11, and just bringing the running back into the backfield, I think that's where you find more success. And actually, when the offensive line got more push, it felt like they were getting more push out of lighter packages.
I love that, and that makes a lot of sense. So maybe the key is just empty for a lot of the game, and then you're right. When you want to run the ball, you just bring the running back from the wide receiver spot that he's lined up in there. I thought we were going to see more quarterback draws out of empty because of how successful that first one was. And then it seemed like there were times, I don't know if the Steelers were trying to bait the Broncos into doing it again, but they just had no one in the center of the field. No one. And I'm like, this has to be a quarterback draw. And they didn't do that. Maybe they can add that this week just to check to that, where they don't call that play, but at the line, if no one's there, it's just an automatic Bo's going to take off, because if you get push, and you should be able to get push from your Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey and then Wattenberg in there as well. But if there's only 2 defensive linemen for those 3 guys to cover it, you should be able to pick up 5 yards every single time, and Bo should not be taking big hits.
Yeah, you should be able to find a hole, at least for 5,
Yeah.
There should be some room in there to get 5 yards on the field.
Yeah, I would think so. So my suggestion, which I think Sean is going to implement this week, things got to be made simpler, not just for Bo, for your right tackle, for your offensive line, and for all your young playmakers that you have on the field, because Tyler Beatty, he needs to see the ball more. If he has a 16-yard run to start the game, things can't be so complex where you're afraid to give him the ball because he hasn't been in the game very much. You need to make things simple for your entire offense, and I really think that is going to start, and we're going to see that a lot this week.
Hopefully. I got a lot. I got a couple of plays that kind of like what we've talked about so far on the show that we'll walk through on the Inside Scoop. So
let's get to that in just a second. First, let's hit the 2 super chats we have, because I want to make sure we give Todd enough time on the Inside Scoop, but I also want to make sure we're talking to the people. First one coming in from Azteca, who says, first game sad for me, but update from last week. My fiance said yes. So win some, lose some. And thank you to Todd for being willing to sign the card I dropped off on Sunday.
Absolutely. And man, congrats to you and your missus, man. That's, you know what I'm saying? When you're about to pop the question, it's not like easy.
Yeah.
It's nerve-wracking. Your heart's kind of pounding. So
Yeah.
You got it done, man. Good job.
Oh, man. Congratulations. Hopefully the Broncos can get a win for you so you can celebrate even more. And Stephen Black chimes in and says, what's up, y'all? Thoughts about the offense? Is it that we don't have any playmakers, the play calling holding them back, or what is going on? How is our run game this bad? Todd, how is the run game so bad? What is it? If you had to point to one thing on the offense that's holding them back right now, what is it?
Maybe predictability. It seems like guys are shooting their gaps downhill as far as defenders, when we get into run scenarios. It doesn't feel like we're catching many people off guard. I mean, the run that Beatty had was the first time I felt like the defense was on their heels when a run play was called. So maybe that's our problem, is that we get into 12 personnel and get everybody into the box, and then we run the ball, and then we get in the empty, and then we pass the ball. Maybe we're a little bit too predictable as an offense right now.
That's a really good point. And is that on Sean? Is that on limitations of personnel that he has?
A little bit of both. You start to add to your playbook because of what you see that your players need. But if you haven't put in, 10 runs in 11 personnel gun, and you only have your runs out of 12 I formation or dot back, it does limit what you can do so far. Now, as the season progresses, you start adding more and more in based on what your players need. But as of right now, that's kind of how I feel like it's set up.
So Sean's stuck between a rock and a hard place right now.
He'll figure it out.
Yeah, if anyone's going to figure it out, I do have confidence in Sean. And I think we're going to see a lot of things different this week from the Broncos. But I want to take a look back in the past and get the inside scoop. But first, let's play a little game, Todd. Our friends over at Bet365 have the early lines up for next week's games. I'm going to throw a couple of games your way, and you tell me what you think the line is over at Bet365. The Raiders are playing the Panthers in Las Vegas. The Panthers, though, making a quarterback change. With Andy Dalton getting the start over Bryce Young, trying to give a spark to their offense, which is averaging 6.5 points per game right now. What do you think the line is?
I don't know if you could say it like that, because I don't know if we're much better. So you said it like it was just like absolutely
Broncos
extreme.
are over, actually exactly double that. Broncos averaging 13 points per game as a team. On offense, are just averaging 11.
Yeah, okay. 5 plus 5.
My goodness, Todd, your money, 5.5 for the Panthers. Let's get the Chiefs. They're playing the Falcons, who massive comeback win for them last night. That's so important with the new quarterback. Chiefs going into Atlanta to play the Falcons. What do you think the line is over at Bet365?
4 points.
Favoring Chiefs?
The Chiefs.
3.5 for the Chiefs. You
dang.
you are on top of it. One more. Let's see if you can keep it going. And let's stick within the division. Let's go the Chargers. They're going into Pittsburgh. The 2-0 Steelers playing the 2-0 Chargers in Pittsburgh. Where's the line here?
I would say 2.5.
Favoring?
The Chargers.
No, opposite.
Dang.
2 favor Steelers.
Dang.
You are money on this, Todd. Are you an odds maker on the side?
I need to be.
Dang, yes you do. Bet365 needs you on their team. And if you want to join Bet365's team to get in on these odds, use the code DNVR365. When you sign up, they're going to give you one of 2 offers, either a first bet safety net offer, by placing a bet up to $1,000, and if your qualifying bet loses, you receive a matched refund and bonus bets. Or you can get a bet and get offer by placing a bet of $5 or more, and you get $200 in bonus bets. That's by using the code DNVR over at DNVR365 over at Bet365. Please gamble responsibly. Must be 21 and older and physically located in Colorado. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, once help caller text 1-800-GAMBLER.
And shout out to our friends over at Premier Members Credit Union. They are a financial institution based here in Colorado. With PMCU, you get local branches, friendly tellers, and tools you need to save smarter, like the reverse tier money market. It's the account you need to get ahead and stay ahead in this economy. This is an organization that serves the community and the Colorado community in particular. Whatever your goals, they can help. PMCU is all about creating a better banking experience for their community. I think it's important to I think you say mess with people who mess with you, and you know that Premier Members Credit Union definitely loves the Colorado community, and I think, yeah. You know what I'm saying? We got to keep it G. But shout out to Premier Members Credit Union, and you can go check them out at becomepremier.com to learn more. All
right. Shout out to Bet365, the presenting sponsor of this show. Hit us with a thumbs up if you're tuning in on the Toyota chat. It really helps us out. We really appreciate it, and it keeps us going. And Todd, if you are nearly as good with the inside scoops as you are with setting odds, this is going to be an incredible segment. Let's dive into the film with the inside scoop. Again, no one knows the Broncos more than Todd. You spent a month inside the building just a month ago, Todd. Take us through this film of Sunday's game.
All right, so I like to break down some of the plays that aren't necessarily like big splash plays, but they are the reasons why the Broncos, give up points or lose a game. This is the first quarter, and this ends up being the drive where the Steelers punch it in for 7 points, and then the Broncos are down 7-0. This is 3rd and 6, and, we have a package from Vance Joseph similar to his double A gap package. Now he has the 2 linebackers on the outside, and I just feel like J-Mac's a really good player, but for him right now, he's way too deep. You got 3rd and 6. You need to be on levels. You're playing Justin Fields. You have a blitz coming. They're going to wrap. They're going to create pressure. Cody Barton's going to come in here and be a QB spy. I think you need to be down here. Create levels with the corner here, but you need to be in a better position to be able to play this quick slant, because that's all this is. He's just too deep for this slant, and it's just a throw and catch. I mean, he's 6 yards off of the guy when Justin Fields is throwing the ball, when all actuality he should be maybe 1.5 yards off. You sit at the sticks. You don't back up, and you just play the underneath routes. If they beat you over the top, you want to push them to this middle of the field safety. Anything over here, you just run and play his hands. So I think this is just a case of us being way too deep.
Yeah.
And on 3rd and 6, this ends up leading to a Pittsburgh touchdown.
What a great play to choose, Todd, because I think it really highlights this right here, but also it gets to a bigger question to fans, because I feel like fans are always seeing exactly what you're saying. On 3rd and 7, a guy's playing 14 yards off. Now, not that Jaquan was that far off, but you see that, and it's just like, what is happening? Is that a coach's call of where you line up, or is that a player's call?
No, you have rules as a player, and I'm pretty sure, 100% sure that he knows the player. He's supposed to be tighter in coverage right here on 3rd and 6. Just because of who you're playing, the routes. All these routes are at the sticks. Nobody went past the first down marker. Play the sticks and then tackle the catch, and usually you'll be all right.
And like you're showing, he never got closer than 2 or 3 yards to him before he caught the ball.
Yeah, so it was tough. All right, this is another play within that drive. And I love the penny package. That's where they have 5 D linemen, and they have 1 linebacker. And there's not a lot of runs that you could, do to it. But this is one run that I feel like teams are going to start mimicking, because it leaves us short-manned. So you have everybody's gapped out. Singleton has this A gap. You have PJ has this B gap. And then actually Riley has this D gap on the outside. But when they run this play to the right side, everybody's running to get to their gaps, and they're just washing everybody down. And what this does is it forces the corner to have to be the guy to fill his gap and make a tackle. And our corners are great in coverage, and I think just running, trying to make a tackle on a 200-pound running back that's running full speed, I just don't think that's a matchup that we want to continually create. But he did a great job of winding this. Look how much push they got. Everybody's moving towards the sideline. I'm not harping on the defense, because ultimately I think the defense played great. But these are some of the plays that led to them having that, first touchdown, which eventually put us behind the 8 ball. And I think for a young quarterback, it's tough trying to dig yourself out of a 7-point deficit early in your career. So this ends up going for almost 15 yards. And, of course, Riley has to be the one to make the tackle. Safety's coming down to help. But by this point, he's 7 yards downfield before he even gets touched.
Right. And one of the things that we saw a lot last week in week 1 was Riley Moss led the team in tackles. That's great for Riley. And you love that he's a willing tackler and a good tackler. You don't want that to pop up on the stat sheet much, though.
No, you don't want that to be your DNA as a DC, is that your corners are your leading tacklers, because that doesn't mean that. That means that, people are getting on the edges a little bit too often.
And so last week when we did the Inside Scoop, you talked about this penny formation and the benefits of it. But if teams do really attack it like this, do you need to change the formation? And what do you think would be best to go to?
If teams are going to attack it like this, I think the big boys up front have to do a good job of eating up gaps. So if you see the problem right here is that, I believe this is DJ Jones. It starts DJ kind of gets cut off. So he gets cut off. So that means Alex has to play this gap really hard and kind of overplay it. When you're a linebacker, you trust your guys to what they call eat up gaps. So if he's in this A gap and this guard doesn't touch you, he goes straight here. I'm expecting you to take this A gap all the way over to here. You're going to eat up all these gaps, and I can fall back and play behind you. But if you get cut off, well, now I have to play this super firm, and then that doesn't allow me to have the ability to come back in this play and help stop it for a 3-yard gain or a 2-yard gain. Now I have to play my gap, and I can't come back and help anymore.
It's like you play defense in the NFL or something.
Just a little bit. Okay, so that's enough, harping on the defense, because ultimately I think they played a great game. And we talked about it on the post-game show about people who we felt like are been playing well. And I failed to mention Zach Allen and Jonah Ellis. I think that they have both been playing really, really good football. Zach Allen has been a monster out there, and Jonah Ellis is, really coming into his own. So this is a, second down play on the goal line. And I think this is a good job of getting after the quarterback, and this is what they call a natural. So you got 2 guys rushing, and sometimes they have different games. So they have an exit, which is like the end goes inside first, and the tackle wraps, or they have a Texas, which means the tackle goes first and the end comes inside. To me, this is what they're called a natural, which means like naturally, we're not running a game here, but naturally I see your presence pressing upfield. So naturally, there's no point for me to recreate the edge when you're creating it here. So naturally, I'm going to come underneath and I'm going to make this play. And that's exactly what Jonah Ellis does, is that he feels Zach Allen's pressure pushing the pocket here. He feels it and naturally comes underneath, and he's able to get the sack on Justin Fields. And I think this is just rushing coverage going together. We got everybody covered, and these guys are working, a natural game, and I think it gets home, and it's perfect. You see Jonah Ellis coming in here, and then what Zach Allen is doing when he runs his natural, he's really creating another edge. So that's what gives Jonah Ellis the ability to come under that block and make this play.
So Jonah Ellis gets the sack, but it was really both of those guys.
For sure, you got to work together. I mean, there were so many times that Vaughn got a sack because of what Derek Wolfe did, or vice versa. Like, pass rushing, it does work one-on-one, but a lot of times you need, a player to help run games with to allow you to get more sacks than you would on your own.
And we heard a lot that Jonah Ellis had really good football instincts. You kept saying it was just a natural feeling. That's football instincts, right?
For sure, 100%. You got to be able to feel that and kind of feel your teammate, rushing up the field to be able to come underneath.
Yep, love it.
Yeah, because there would be nothing worse than like you think he rushed upfield, but he didn't, and you come underneath, and now there's no edge to the defense. So you really got to be able to like have a good feeling for that.
Yep.
This is a play from Bo Nix that I saw that I think he's just a little bit antsy sometimes. And so this was, second quarter of the game. I think he gets into a good drop right here. They're in a form of cover 3. And this corner kind of sits on this route right here. And right now, Bo kind of like hitches and like moves a little bit. I can't show you because it's not the film, but he like kind of gets jittery right here. And it's like he has about a second before this rusher actually comes free and then creates pressure on him. But if you see, this guy is completely wide open. And by the time this play happens, yes, he has to get rid of the ball, but there was a half second to a second that Bo kind of gets jittery before he needs to and doesn't keep his eyes downfield to where he can see this corner not taking his deep third and be able to deliver this ball for a touchdown.
Yeah, man. And it's just that it's like he almost, because I've seen this play on actual film, and it just seems like he's
got like
anxious.
antsy real quick. Yeah.
And
it was like real
his
quick.
Feet too. He just starts to stutter. Is that just being a rookie? Is that he's already freaked out by like a slow game and a half up to this point? Because this is a play you would see after like David Carr's been sacked 62 times in a season. But obviously that hasn't happened to Bo yet.
No, I think it's a little bit of being a rookie. I think he has been under pressure. He has had to use his legs. He hasn't had a clean pocket every play. So it's a little bit of everything. And he has to kind of just sit in there, trust his lineman, just hair more. But, there's a play later on down the line that kind of shows why he doesn't trust, them sometimes.
Yep.
So this is the Broncos again. This is like third quarter, and so we get a very simple route from the offense. We're basically going to get spacing here and get a hitch. And maybe this is why he gets a little bit antsy, is because if Bo is able to have just a second of time to throw this ball out here, I believe it was Cortland Sutton, they're just running to the 6 and turn around. He gets his body in front of the defender so he can maybe make the catch. But Bo's sitting in the pocket, and Wattenberg gets beat in like a half second with a nice like slap swim. So then he's, under the rest trying to throw the ball, and he throws this ball. Well, you can't see at the end, but he throws the ball into the dirt, kind of. When if he throws a little bit higher, I really believe that Cortland could have came up with this ball. But because he's getting smacked, as you can see on film, he's not able to sit in the pocket and deliver the ball he needs to. So this is on the offensive line. Sean talked about needing other guys to step up. Like, we can't have this for our young quarterback. If we want him to sit in the pocket and feel comfortable enough to deliver a good football or deliver the ball right here, make the catch to get to first down, he can't be taking hits like this, or else he will get nervous. He will start to pat his feet and he will deliver the ball earlier than he needs to.
Yeah, I know I'm not Bo Nix, but I'd probably be a little nervous if a couple of plays before or after I was getting hit like that. Because you're right. I mean, that freeze frame that you have, Wattenberg is completely turned around.
Yep.
He is looking at Bo Nix, and the defender is in front of him, just about to smack him.
Yeah, so that's not a good space to be in
No.
at all. Okay, so this is what I felt like was the best play for our offense, kind of all game long as far as running play. And this is something where you got two backs in the backfield, you create motion, but the whole not only the whole formation is spread out. So you limit the guys in the box.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, there's 5 guys in the box. We got 5 offensive linemen. Like, we're already winning. That's a hat for a hat.
Yeah.
So I think Beatty is a great running back, but also I don't know another time where it was holes like this for any other running back.
Yep.
And they're able to double team. They're going to double team Scoop here, and they want to double team him. They really should have a hat for a hat, and they do a great job of it. I mean, look how far downfield they are. I mean, they're 6 to 7 yards downfield blocking.
Yep.
I don't know another running play with any other running back where they did this.
Yep.
And although you could say, well, Beatty needs more time, yes, he did a great job running, but when has Jalil got this blocking?
Right.
Like, come on.
Right. And in fact, I mentioned how earlier Javonte, sometimes there was a hole open and he missed it. There were 2 holes open here. He couldn't have missed it.
Exactly. So this is great blocking. And I mean, whether he picks this one, whether he splits the defenders, I mean, you really can't go wrong. And that was one of the best plays for our offense. But what we did is we spread everybody out, and we allowed our O-linemen to kind of get one-on-one blocks, a hat for a hat, and they did a great job with it. They were able to double team, work to the second level. They're both getting on linebackers. I mean, this is what you want from your O-line, but they have to be consistent doing it.
Yep, 100%. Now, the Steelers, a great defensive line, so maybe it will get a little easier moving forward. You
Yeah.
hope, but obviously you can't count on that. You need the Broncos offensive line to step up.
You never know. We talked about empty. I mean, they got an empty. They did some great things, but this was the switch up here and something that I felt like was very good for Bo's game. I mean, once again, the defense is on their heels. Everybody's playing pass. They're getting out to their pass responsibilities now. They're not expecting to run, and that's when you hit them with a draw. There was, I believe, our longest running play of the day, and it was by Bo Nix because the defense is completely on their heels.
Yeah.
And so I think that you mix this in with your ability to run empty and have quick throws. Because the problem is this. Everybody's on a body. If we're really playing empty all the time and we're just throwing these 5-yard checkdowns, the most we're getting is 5 yards, and they're tackling the catch.
Yeah.
As you said right now, I don't know if the Broncos have the most dynamic players to be able to make a guy miss and go 50, 60 yards. So a lot of the catches that they are making, they are getting tackled right after they catch the ball. So you have to have little switch-ups and caveats to your game plan like this that keep the defense on their heels. So you can't just play out there. So if I fake a draw and throw the screen, I have better matchups. Now I have a hat for a hat, and you had to sit right here and wait for me, you know what I'm saying, to see what I was going to do. It puts pressure on the defense, and there's a lot of things you can do as far as mixing up plays once you have the defense thinking.
I love that. And then in that play specifically, you had 2 high safeties. Is that how they would counter the quarterback draw and run in those situations? They bring one of those safeties in the box, and that leaves half the field without a safety for the future, where you could maybe take a deep shot to court?
Yeah, for sure. They may get in a sky zone or a cover 3 concept and bring this safety down strong and let this guy sit here and spy and sit in the window. Well, now you got really one-on-one matchups, and you can attack vertical, especially these edges of these defense, these pockets right here, and really make plays downfield.
Incredible. Is that it?
I had one more play, but
It's not pulled up. Maybe that's perfect because we don't actually have time for one more. Todd, this was incredible insight. The Inside Scoop is the best, broken down by someone who knows the Broncos better than anyone outside of the building. And you hear, do we have any super chats before we get out of here? We hit them all. All right, that's going to do it today. Todd, thank you for the awesome insight, talking about everything, especially the Inside Scoop. I absolutely love it. We're going to be back tomorrow with some insight from our guy Brian Baldinger. Plus, we're going to look at the Buccaneers. Is this a week that the Broncos can exploit something on the Buccaneers defense and actually find some offensive success? We're going to start breaking it down tomorrow, 10 a.m. for Todd Davis. You here. Have a great day. We'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in.